What's up? I'm Alex from LearnVTOLFast.com. Last week I made a video about defensive decision making, and in that video I had one more part that I wanted to talk about, but then I realized that the video is getting way too long. So today we're gonna talk about that part. So I guess this video then is sort of a part 2 of that video. It might work as a standalone, but it would make even more sense if you see the first video first. So just like in the first video, this is also a sort of a way of thinking. I'm gonna share a way of looking at things here, which will then help you map out how to become a better defender in the future. The shortest way I can describe this video is I'm gonna teach you to be a detective that puts clues together and on top of each other to get to the final answer. But to understand how to do that, first we're gonna have to look at certain few different skills that defense consists of. So these are skills that can help you with the defense, but might not by themselves fix all your problems. So the number one skill, or number one on this list at least, is staying still. We talked about that in the first video. It's basically about waiting, seeing what the attacker does, and once you actually know what they're doing, then you see where the ball is going, and then you go there and defend the ball. And that's a skill that many people lack. A lot of people either are jumpy and jump in the wrong direction, or guess wrong or stuff. And even people that don't do that, sometimes they're stiff because they're stressed, and that is almost as bad, because if you're stiff and stressed, you can't start moving quickly enough. That becomes almost like a technique thing. But these are, like everything, interconnected into each other as well. Number 2 is guessing. So this is basically the opposite of staying still. This is, if you saw the previous video, it's when you have a player that the standing still strategy doesn't work against, because maybe the standing still strategy can cover a lot of the court, but not absolutely everything. So if you have someone who constantly puts the ball outside of your range of standing still, maybe you have to start guessing. Maybe you have to sometimes just run here and hope that the player puts the ball there, or the other way, or whatever. Number 3 is scouting, which is basically studying the team that you're playing against. Whether that is video, you watch video of them, or you ask people that have played against the team, or you play against them yourself and you sort of figure out how they do things. You're basically picking up tendencies of the opponents that then will help you understand how they do things, maybe guess smarter, etc., etc. Fourth is live reading. Live reading is more, it's similar to scouting, but it's more like happening in the game. So it's about seeing the attacker, in what sort of position they are, what can they do from here, and what does that mean for me as a defender. The absolutely easiest example of this is, we have the antennas here in the end of the court. So if someone is attacking from here, that basically means that this is what they can do. Like, this is all the range that they can have to get the ball into the court. So as a defender, it might be very smart to move here. That's maybe the easiest example of reading where you really should read. Unless there's some crazy sort of wind so that the player can like, or something like that. But that's a rare exception. Okay, so number 5 here is understanding the attacker's decision making. So right now we're talking about the defensive decision making. How do we decide what we're gonna do? But the attacker that we're trying to defend, they also have to take decisions. And what are they? Why are they deciding what they're deciding? The McKibben bros did a really good video on this together with the Norwegians, Christian Sorum and Anders Moll, and there they talk about how they really tried to figure out why the attacker does what he does. So if the attacker does something, they basically asked themselves, why did he do that? Was it because they saw the blocker do something, or was it because they saw the defender do something, or was it because of something else? And once you start understanding how the attacker is taking their decisions, obviously that can have huge benefits for you as a defender. Number 6, technique, and maybe I should add athleticism and just the general fitness here. Basically, everything you do here can get even better if you do the movements right and efficiently. Sometimes I might start with this technique, could be the most important out of this in some ways, but today I'm not. Today I'm talking about something else. But I hope that's clear. Technique just makes everything more efficient. The more balls you can actually get up, the quicker you can actually move in the court, etc., etc. Obviously helps with defense. Okay, so now is when we start getting into the exciting stuff here. I'm gonna guide you through a visualization that I have, like a way that my mind understands this. And I think I'm gonna have to ask you to bear with me for a minute, because it might seem kind of weird in the beginning, but once you get it, once I guide you through it, it will be like, hopefully, kind of an aha moment, if your mind is anything like mine. So, all of these skills you can practice separately. Just because you have good technique doesn't mean that you're good at guessing. Just because you're a good scouter doesn't mean that you understand the attacker's decision making, etc., etc. So you can work on this separately. As a defender, we are basically, the attacker attacks from here and can put the ball in any position on the court. There's just way too many positions that the attacker can put the ball. Now, here's the explanation. Here's a picture, and this picture has a lot of colors. It has a lot of different colors. And if we now imagine that every different color is one of these dots on the court, we can add filters onto the picture. Right now, here's a filter that makes everything black and white except the yellow colors. So we have black, white, and yellow left over. That would be kind of the equivalent of having just these two dots left here. Let's say these are the yellow dots and everything else is gone. So now we know that, okay, we can move here and we can defend here. Unfortunately, so if we see all these skills as filters in themselves, unfortunately none of these filters are that strong as the filter that I just applied to the picture. But they work more in this fashion. So we can take the picture again, and then we apply a filter on it that is not as strong as the one we used before. This one only takes away blue colors, and the picture looks like this instead. Now, on top of that picture, we can add another filter which takes away red colors. And on top of that filter, we can put another one which takes away cyan. And on top of that, we can also put another filter that takes away magenta colors and similar colors. And all of a sudden, now we have added 4 different filters that are not as strong, but the end result is the same as we got from the first filter we used that made everything black, white, and yellow. So basically we have just used a bunch of less powerful tools on top of each other to get the same result as one powerful tool. So I hope it's getting clear here what I'm fishing for. Basically, you can learn these different skills by themselves, and then you can stack them on top of each other, and they will filter away more and more of these possibilities together. So I think I need to show you some examples here. Let's say that I'm playing against you, I'm defending you, and before we even start, I have scouted you. So I have realized that you, for most of the time, you like the line shot and the cut shot, and very rarely do you do anything else. So there in my scouting, in a way, I have noticed that most of this stuff here rarely ever happens. Now, I've also scouted that every time you do the line shot, you have this little quirk in your arm before. It's very distinctively different when you do the line shot and the cut shot. So that's also something I know. Now, when we play, I can then live read if you do that quirk or not. And every time you do the quirk, well, I'm guessing, but I'm doing an educated guess. I'm not staying still here. I'm actually cheating and going early, but it's a very educated guess because of all of this. And I run here. And then once I'm here, I'm actually still staying still, so that in case you would do like a mistake and maybe put the ball here or something, I can still get it. Okay, another example. So this time I haven't scouted you before. So we start playing, but during the game in the beginning, I'm basically live scouting you as we play. And I start understanding that you, as an attacker, listen very carefully to your partner when they call out if it's empty in the line or in the angle or wherever. Basically the helping call that your partner does. And you basically follow that as a slave. So now I'm sort of live scouting, which means that I am understanding your decision making as an attacker. You heavily rely on your partner. So now we're using both of those two. Again, now I use kind of live reading. It's not exactly reading, but I'm starting to listen to your partner, which then lets me do an educated guess. And then I go wherever he calls me, stay still, and then I pick the defense up. And a last example. This time I also haven't scouted you, but I've talked to a friend that has played against you before. And this friend basically says that you like hitting here somewhere, like an angle hit, actually from there to there. And you also try some shots sometimes, but usually they're not very, very sharp. And I have worked on my technique before, so I'm really good at staying still, just waiting and seeing what you do. So either you're gonna hit on me here, or you're gonna do some shots here. If you put them here, they tend to be a little bit higher, so there's more time. Also the same there, which still means that I can stay still, use my technique and my athleticism, and run there and get those up. One more thing, I hope you saw in the examples that you don't necessarily need to layer all of these on top of each other. Sometimes it's enough to just use 2 or 3 or 1 or 4 or whatever. Maybe in the perfect world, if we become super good at defending, we would be using all of them. I can't say I'm there myself yet, but maybe one day I will. But I really think that you can work on this separately and then start working on combining them, and then start working on even more complex combinations of them until you get more of them working at the same time. And I hope you remember from the last video, if you saw it, that it's all about percentages. It's all about what is the strategy that actually together makes it the biggest chance that we get some defense up, and how do we make that number as big as possible. So actually, in a way, it should be added here, statistics, because not always are we going to be able to combine these into 100% foolproof system, but we can together add these into a system that gives us some defense and makes us pick up some balls, and that's better than nothing, and that can usually win a game. So I hope this filtering process analogy, kind of the filters on the picture, laying those on top of each other, laying these skills on top of each other to really figure out what we should defend. I hope it makes sense. I hope it makes sense as much as for you as it does for me. Obviously this video I haven't talked about like how to do these things. This is more of like an overview, and how the overview sort of connects with each other, so that hopefully now you have a maybe better big picture strategy on what you should work on in defense to become a better defender. And obviously in the future I'm gonna make videos where I talk more about these subparts, so that means you should subscribe to the channel, and you should also help me grow this channel in different ways, which happens by subscribing, liking the channel, telling your friends, commenting on the video if there's something you're wondering about, joining my Facebook group, joining my newsletter. All of those things really help me grow this project so that I can make more nerdy stuff like this in the future.